it up somehow. I'll keep moving on. I won't stop now. I'll keep moving on till I reach the top somehow. I'll keep moving on. I won't stop now. I'll keep moving on till I reach the top somehow. I'll keep moving on.
Oh yes, my Straight Dog family, it's time for me to wish you a very pleasant night, St. Kitts and Nevis, and throughout the entire Caribbean region. I do wish you a pleasant, very pleasant night wherever you are in the region. I have not heard from my friends in Montserrat for a long time. Trust and hope that Montserrat is doing well. And even over there in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Ralph Country, and down there in Barbados as well. We do reach and touch the entire Caribbean, Venezuela, Buenas noches también. And in the Kittitian and Nevision diaspora, I say greetings to you wherever you are, whether you are in Africa, Asia, Europe, and I know a whole lot of you are all over North America, so I'm at liberty to say good night. I can say good morning, and I will say good afternoon, because one of such greetings will be applicable to the region in which you now find yourselves. And Straight Talk, for those who may be joining me for the first time, I always implore you to share the feed, share the link, so we can avoid the suppression of freedom of expression here in my country, St. Kitts and Nevis. Don't take your eyes off that. Keep your eyes on the ball. And my Straight Talk family, if you join in me for the first time, we do have first timers, and I do want to inform you that Straight Talk is a public service program that facilitates and promotes free expression on all issues of national interest, be they legal, be they environmental, be they technological, social, economic, and or political issues. On Straight Talk, you do have a forum to express yourselves freely. Let us in the process strive to get back to that enviable position of being number one and one of the freest countries in the entire world. On this program, we try to raise the level of national discourse. We try to raise the level of national consciousness by alerting our people to their rights, to their responsibilities, and certainly to their obligations. My name is Ian Patches Liburd, and I always thank Almighty God for blessing me with another opportunity to join you in conversation, my Straight Dog family, on yet another occasion. And again, for the first timers, Straight Talk is a participative program. By that I mean we entertain your calls, or we include your calls. We also include your emails. At some stage in the program, we will be given a heads up when, But if you are so minded to call, the numbers, take a note, are 663-6672 or 646-829-6672. And they are accessible at least for that overseas number, even the local. Once you're on WhatsApp, you can access that number as well. And there are those who like the cloak of anonymity. You like to hide behind your keyboard. You don't want anyone to hear your voice. We don't expose it nonetheless. But the address is Straight Talk Patches at gmail.com. That's Straight Talk, STRAIGHTTALKPATCHES at gmail.com. And you can access or connect to the program and, so to speak, have your say, my Straight Dog family. Tonight, my thesis tonight I've entitled, "A Promise is a Comfort to a Fool." But we'll get into that discussion. And I want to hail the brothers over there at Kenny's Garage over there in New York. And just to give you a heads up that Jordan Williams, that sounds like a big name, doesn't it? Jordan Williams would have his birthday bash come next month. I think it's next month, the 13th of May, to be exact. And you have quite a lot of artists will be there at the garage. Mr. Bagnell, Smiley, Upfront Band, DJ Fire, Pungwa, and DJ Menti. And it's on 2731 Golden Avenue in the Bronx in New York. The zip code is 10469 and sponsored by Jordan Williams himself, Jordan Williams Entertainment, Cholo Bakery, and Almond Glassford. That name sounds familiar. But my good brother Selwyn, I hope things are well. But all is required is a small donation at the door. That's all I'm noting here, a small donation at the door. Normally we have our observations in review, and that's a little tidbit. So don't forget that birthday bash coming next month, the 13th of May, over there in the Bronx, New York at Kenny's Garage. And our first observation tonight, as we move right into the program, it relates to one of my episodes a few weeks ago. On one of my episodes, I raised a matter about the Social Security Board in respect of an anomaly that still exists, even though in response to a reporter's question just yesterday, Dr. Drew would like us to think otherwise. And this was the question posed by Glenn Bart yesterday, and the response follows the question.
Mr. Prime Minister, some weeks ago there was some talk about the Social Security Board not being properly constituted, that it had more members on it than the Act allowed. For example, I understand that the talk was that it was 12 plus 6, and that occurred because of a situation where 6 members were not appropriately terminated from their service on the board. Can you comment to that situation at all?
So I have looked at the legality of it and have my legal advice on that, and that is not so at all. So I would basically say from my legal advice that is not so. Okay?
All right. On the matter of the
Well,
students.
Yes.
my Straight Talk family, Straight Talk has learned otherwise. And perhaps if I crave your indulgence for a couple seconds. The Social Security Act, Cap 22.10, as revised, I think it was in 2017 or somewhere thereabout, it speaks to, or Part 2 rather, speaks to the Social Security Board. And it reads in subsection 3, or section 3, under the establishment and constitution of Social Security Board. And it reads under subsection 1, for the purposes of this act, there shall be and there is hereby established a board to be known as the Social Security Board, which, for the purposes and subject to the provisions of this act, shall have and may exercise the rights, powers, authorities, and functions conferred, and shall be charged with and perform the duties and obligations imposed upon it by this act and by any other act. Now, it also speaks to the composition of the board, section 4. And important to note, it says the board shall consist of not less than 6 and not more than 12 members. And it also continues under subsection 3. It says the board shall be appointed by the minister, and who, according to the interpretation of the act, minister means the minister with responsibility for Social Security. It goes on, 2 members representing employees shall be appointed after consultation with such association of employers, and as I say, employees, 2 members representing employers, that should be, and 2 members representing employees shall be appointed, as well as 2 members representing employees shall be appointed after consultation with such association of trade unions or individual trade unions as appear to the minister to be representative of workers generally speaking, generally, beg your pardon, throughout the state, it says, by Straight Dog family. Now, the structure and management or the social of the board, which the Social Security Board is made up of at least 6, as I said, but not more than 12 members. Its composition ensures representation from at least 3 sectors, namely government, employers, and employees. And the membership of the board, as I intimated earlier, is appointed by the minister in the government of St. Kitts and Nevis. A chairman and a deputy chairman are appointed from among the membership. It is the board that the Social Security Office is accountable to. In turn, the board is accountable to the stakeholders of Social Security. The board appoints a director who is the chief executive officer of the board and staff, and some officers are designated as inspectors to exercise such powers as may be necessary for the administration of the act. And this is very important, my Straight Dog family. It's section 5, which deals with the terms of office of members. And the act says, and I quote, subject to this act, the period for which a member of the board is first appointed under the act shall hold office shall be, in the case of the chairperson, 5 years, and in the case of the deputy chairperson, 4 years, and in the case of the remaining members, 3 years. After the appointment, it continues, of the members first appointed, each further appointment shall be for a period of 3 years. If a member ceases to hold office before the termination of the period of his or her appointment, another member may be appointed in his or her place for the remainder of that period. And 4, each person who is appointed a member shall, upon the expiration of the term for which he or she was appointed, be eligible for reappointment. Now, my Straight Talk family, the irrefutable evidence is that when the new government assumed office, then Chairman Jimmy Pistano and board member Lennox Liburd resigned. And unfortunately, one other member, beg your pardon, Trevor Liburd, died, went to the great beyond. Some accident, I am told. Now, 12 members were appointed to serve a new term of 3 years. Right? But listen to this. Including those 12 members, 3 from the old board, Farron Lawrence, Oscar Walters, and Carl Claxton, and the 9 other new members. It means that the 6 other members still hold the substantive position until July of 2023 because they have not been terminated. And it says, in terms of termination of the board, subject to subsection 2 of this section, the minister may terminate the appointment of the chairperson, deputy chairperson, or any member of the board if he or she thinks it is desirable or expedient to do so, or so to do. In the case of a member of the board, employers or employees, the minister may terminate their services only in accordance with the advice of the employers or trade unions as provided in subsection 4 and subsection 4.5 of this act. Now, my Straight Talk family, in the case of the 3 members, I read from section 2 above. Then the minister must therefore tell the country when he terminated the other 6. Because to say he got legal advice, that's not good enough for the country. And the other 6 members who, according to the Act, and have not been terminated, then they are still members of the board until July 2023. Namely, Mr. Victor Earl, Mr. Frank Farrell, Miss Dorita Rowland, Miss Jennifer Williams, Mrs. Candice Keynes Dickinson. He has not, and for that reason, Straight Talk submits that the board consists of 18 members. The minister with responsibility for Social Security and Prime Minister has not terminated those 6 members. So all we are saying to you, Mr. Prime Minister, climb down from your high horse, do the right thing, and terminate those members and get it running properly. Our second observation, my Straight Talk family, and many people have been referring to the Prime Minister as Hardhead Terry, as he has this propensity to speak each time. Each time he speaks, he does so with so much confidence, and he misspeaks, my Straight Talk family. And here's what he said just yesterday.
National Bank, for the first time in its history, I think, I might be corrected, but I'm almost certain, I'm sure, for the first time, could not pay a dividend, suffered a loss. So we had to take over a banking sector and try to get it back on track.
My Straight Talk family, the facts are that the National Bank recorded an historic profit for the financial year ending June 30, 2021 in the amount of some $294 million. However, in 2022, it is factual that the bank recorded a loss of over $300 million as a result of its overseas investment, I'm told. Now, so the Prime Minister is right on that second count of recording a loss. Now, National Bank is comprised of shareholders, and it was the major shareholder, which is the government, that took the decision not to pay cash, but in stock. They did in fact pay a dividend. Because if you read the financial statements, consolidated financial statement of the financial position as of June 30th, 2022, issued share capital amounts to $141,750,000. Last year, it paid $135 million flat. So in fact, the bank paid a dividend. The bank paid a dividend, but if you look at the notes to the financial statements, note 20 reads issued share capital. It says authorized share capital for 2022, 270 million ordinary shares of $1 each. And it also says issued and fully paid 141,750,000 ordinary shares. So in fact, my Straight Dog family, a stock dividend was paid. And a stock dividend is a payment to shareholders that consists of additional shares rather than cash. So in fact, it is not true to say that the bank did not pay a dividend. And I don't know what could the government do in terms of stabilizing what bank. I don't even want to respond to that nonsensical statement by the Prime Minister and make so many nonsensical statements. But my third observation, and I say so respectfully, my third observation, my Straight Talk family, relates to two long unfinished projects being addressed according to Dr. Joe. And this is what he also said. We will always provide you the evidence, my Straight Talk family, the irrefutable evidence, I may add.
There are some government properties around that are unfinished. The Prince building right in front of government quarters, and there is a police training complex building close to Nima that have not been no work has been done on them for quite some time. What is the state of that? And in addition to those two, can you comment on what is the situation with the old Fort Thomas property, the Thomas Hotel property?
Right. Good. So let me talk to the Printry. We did an analysis on the Printry. We know how much it's going to start, and we intend to start the Printry to finish it as soon as possible. And I will give some more details on it. It's his part, and we intend to have it done. So we did an analysis how much to have it finished, and we are going to move on that very shortly. So that is where it is. However, that Printry, we had some issues with it, but we are really making sure that we complete it. All right. So we have already started that process. The other one is the police training complex that was being funded by the Europeans. I met with the Europeans in Bahamas when I was there earlier, and I met with the ambassador in the last few weeks, and that was what we discussed. I would say that the project, from our perspective here in St. Kitts and Nevis, was badly managed. After the change in government in 2015, it was badly managed, and presently there is no funding coming through the European Union anymore to complete it.
There are some.
My Straight Talk family, the Printry project on Church Street started under the Team Unity administration and was executed by the Office of the Prime Minister and the Ministry of Finance. Straight Talk has learned that there were some discrepancies between the contractor and the consultant engineer with respect to payment drawdowns amounts that brought the project to a halt. And we understand that that matter is now being resolved. So yes, it did in fact start under the Team Unity administration. Now the police training complex at Limekeel was funded by the European Union to the tune of 181,000 euros and started under the previous Labour administration, and construction works were halted, were stopped long before 2015. So to blame the Team Unity administration for that project is nothing but absurd, as bad as the bad management, beg your pardon, of the Labour government must be apportioned where it belongs. But in just 9 months, the country has become familiar with the propensity of our Prime Minister to lie. As I said, my grandmother would say, he lies like when the horse is trotting. My fourth observation in review tonight, my Straight Talk family, relates to the Social Security Fund. My Straight Talk family. The Social Security Fund remains in the spotlight, and questions are being asked such as what our country will be like without a social security system. And that's a very pertinent question being asked. What our country would be like without a security system. My Straight Talk family.
The fund is currently at $1.7 billion. We have about 29,000 active insured persons, and in 2020 we had 1,900 paying employers. In 2022 we paid almost 28,000 persons benefits, totaling $131 million. Currently, we pay about 8,000 pensioners monthly to the tune of $10 million. Many citizens in St. Kitts and Nevis depend on Social Security as their main source of income, especially during old age. Social Security has been successful in mobilizing resources which contribute to economic stability in our federation. And so the question is, what would our federation be like without a Social Security system?
My Straight Talk family, this has brought focus, the comments of the CFO, Marilyn Johnson, has brought focus on major challenges caused by the non-compliance of employers. And one such has come to mind is the Attorney General Garth Lucian Wilkin, who has infected the system, and the Social Security Board, and not just him, Garth Lucian Wilkin and people like him who are non-compliance employers, infect the system, and the Social Security Board need not only be rigorous, but it must also be fair in the execution of the Social Security regulations. Not some you take to court and others you turn a blind eye to. You have to be fair right across the board.
like any other mature social security system, we have our challenges. We have reached our first inflection point. That is, our contributions are less than the benefits that we pay. We have also seen an increase in benefits expenditure as more and more people qualify for old age benefits and at a higher rate. Then we have the issue of non-compliance and collection of contributions and monitoring of employers who deduct the social security contribution from the wages of their employees. We have to have a rigorous system of monitoring the employers to ensure that they comply with the social security regulations and pay the required contributions so that we can finance the benefits for our insured persons.
And non-compliance, I dare add, is synonymous to the Attorney General Garth Lucien Wilkin. But democracy, I will always say, breaks down when public officials like Attorney General Garth Lucien Wilkin, who is also the Minister of Justice and Legal Affairs, democracy breaks down when public officers like him do not respect the law. And for the Social Security, Lady Johnson and Leon Charles, everyone must be treated equally under the law. Our final observation tonight, I will try to remind our Prime Minister of the old adage, to wit, a nation's health is a nation's wealth. I must also repeat my humble advice to this obviously inexperienced leader. And my advice is he should stop trying to drive, or in the context of moving the country forward, he should stop looking in the rearview mirror, or else he will end up crashing. Everything and every time he wants to blame Team Unity instead of managing the country and the economy in these perilous times. My Stray Dog family, the health sector under the stewardship of Prime Minister Drew seemed to be in shambles in a short 9 months under his stewardship. And I asked the question to the minister with responsibility of health tonight. What have you done, Minister, with the $73 million that was approved by the Parliament in the budget estimates for 2022? Why, Minister, didn't you procure the professional and other services for which these funds were earmarked? Yes, in his budget address, the then Prime Minister said this last year.
Mr. Speaker, we intend to improve the services offered at all our health institutions and at the JNF in particular. And they, of course, will benefit from the $73.7 million that we have invested. I should say that this represents a 12% increase for the health sector. What will this money do? This money, Mr. Speaker, will help to provide necessary resources to fund additional medical professionals, and we need them. A general surgeon, a urologist, oncologist, orthopedic surgeon, pathologist, ear, nose, and throat specialists will all be recruited for our health institution.
My Stray Dog family, I ask the minister as well, Where is the MRI machine that you inherited and tried to claim as your ideal? Dr. Drew, the Parliament in the 2022 budget estimates approved $7.7 million for this machine. It's in the budget. Part of the money you had to spend last year. Where is the MRI machine?
We will provide new diagnostic services with the introduction of a new MRI machine to be installed at the JNF General Hospital for the first time. The necessary technical personnel for the efficient and effective operation of the MRI machine are all proposed for funding in 2022. I was asked on my own program, Mr. Speaker, whether I didn't believe it was time for us to have an MRI at the JNF Hospital. It was easy to answer, yes, it is full time. That is part of our commitment to deliver the stronger and safer future. As part of our commitment to healthcare for all, that our premier institution, that is the JNF Hospital, should have at the basic equipment the MRI machine and all the associated support. So this then will be a significant transformation in the delivery of healthcare. Long in coming, but it is now will be there in 2022. Before us, it never was. Team Unity is now making it happen.
My Straight Talk family, $73 million approved expenditure in health for 2022 was a significant investment in our people's health, because our nation needs a healthy, productive workforce. The Team Unity government invested in our health sector to put our country back on track after COVID and expand on the gains that were already made. We has all that money gone, Dr. Drew. And why have you allowed our health system to go down so fast? But come to think of it, the last doctor who was Minister of Health, his name was Asim Martin. And ironically, he was also trained in Cuba. And after 10 years from 1995 to 2005, the Joseph N. France General Hospital deteriorated badly under Asim as well. I beg you, Prime Minister, I beg you, Minister of Health, pass that ministry on to someone else, as you'll head the same road, or down the same road as Asim did. Those are my observations in review for tonight, my Straight Talk family. And it's the time when we keep you focused. We reflect on matters that we have raised, and we also try to ensure that we keep things current. We try to ensure, as we reflect as well, we try to ensure that the questions we ask are answered, and we ensure that the country is fully informed in the absence of transparency under this Jew Labour administration. As mentioned earlier, my Straight Talk family, I won't tarry much longer. My thesis, as I said earlier, is a promise is a comfort to a fool. And when as politicians, we take upon ourselves a promise, then we ought to be bound by such promise. And my actions have spoken always louder than my words when it came to promises. Unfortunately, when you examine promises made by different leaders in our country, especially around election time, and how they're used to comfort fools, this, however, should not discourage the rest of us at all. In a country with a high literacy rate of 98%, I think nonetheless that the word fool is a bit harsh, but a promise is certainly meant to deceive by producing a false comfort or misleading impression of reality that target in particular those who are vulnerable and have no control over their lives and no power to change things. The target, it seems, the disempowered persons amongst us that need others to promise things to, those who, strange but true, are in the majority. These politicians have no good intentions, and more likely than not, they make promises, my straight dog family. They make promises because they know they can get away with it. They get into office, my straight dog family, and they make promises about investments. They make promises of investment yet to be realized. And all the time, they make these promises and they are never fulfilled. Never fulfill their promises, my straight dog family. And we have to hold them to account for such actions, my straight dog family. They always make these promises and never fulfill the promises. And my straight dog family, this is terrible, and we have to do something about it. And we'll speak about that and what we will do. They make promises about investments. Where are the investors, my straight dog family?
We have been getting calls, lots of calls, 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning. I imagine in other parts of the world, it is day when it is the 4 in the morning here in St. Kitts and Nevis. We have been bombarded by persons who are interested in investing in St. Kitts and Nevis. And therefore, I think our people must know that people are ready to invest in St. Kitts and Nevis again.
My straight dog family, under the law, at least in St. Kitts and Nevis, I do not believe that one is exposed to a liability for making a promise. If so, then it has to be in exceptional or in certain specific circumstances. Thus, I do not believe that one can sue a politician for breaking a promise. But that does not mean they are not to be held accountable. The way we hold politicians accountable is through voting. If a politician breaks a promise, for example, like this one, if a politician breaks a promise like this one, then you have to find a way to hold him or her accountable.
Forced vaccination. People lose their jobs. Can't get compensation. Taxi drivers for 20 months can't get a work. 3 months only he gave them a little subsistence for. Labor will pay you for the rest 17 months that he did not pay you. That is what we will do.
The accountability does not come through the courts. It comes through the ballot box. And Big Banana clearly understands that when he said this, my Straight Dog family.
The promise that Denzel made on the stage for 17 months. I don't know if it was a back pay or something to help taxi drivers because of the stress season. Now I went to a meeting at the Marriott, Honorable Marsha Edison, and she told me cabinet, since last year, cabinet is working on something for taxi drivers. But there's a kind of thing that they see, maybe people see boats coming in, so they want to put the issue under the rug. But there is a time that's going to come for 6 months, starting from the end of April, where it's going to be very slow. Politicians are taking people on a promise and not executing the promise. You don't need time to execute it, but at the end of the day, it's those people that make the sacrifice to go on board. This will have you in office, and you need to respect that. If you cannot respect that, at the same time, you'll be taking people for fool all the time, and it's not going to happen like that. Because they're making people promises, and at the end of the day, when they come back to ask those people to do or promise them again, to give them another chance, it's not going to be that.
You can't take taxi operators for fools. Taxi operators are no fools. They are our ambassadors. When one is promised a grant, you cannot turn that grant into a loan either.
A few months back, I think it was late last year, the cabinet approved what we call the COVID relief for taxi operators and small businesses grant out of the development bank, where funds were put into the development bank and the operators, taxi operators and entrepreneurs were able to go to the bank and apply once you were qualified, and you would have been issued a grant of $25,000. I am aware that some persons have even gotten a little more than 25,000 if the circumstances are required or the circumstances dictated. So that program that was promised, I know some of the taxi operators have applied and benefited from it, and so I'm pleased to say that we did deliver on the promise. Applicants would have gone in and applied, gone through the process, the screening. Once they qualified, they would have benefited from the grant.
But the grant, we found out, is a grant. And the loan is a loan, we know as well.
We, the taxi drivers, would have met here before and was seeking assistance of a grant rather than a loan. Development Bank would have called us or mentioned that monies are available, but it would be in the form of a loan. But we got it differently in that it was a grant. I mean, a loan and a grant is two different. I'm sure everybody would understand that. And so we just really want to know that if individuals actually received a grant, you mentioned in your remarks that taxi driver would have gotten a grant or grants.
But what I meant was the loan that was funded through Development Bank by the government. So monies were placed by government into the Development Bank, easily accessible.
So, my Straight Dog family, is it a grant or a loan? Does the easy accessibility turn it into a grant? That's the confusing point on this one. But a successful democracy, my Straight Dog family, is built on trust. Candidates and governments make many promises before and during their time in office. And prime ministers are certainly no exception. Prime Minister Drew, for example, who has been in office going on to 9 months, now has evidentially gone back on several promises he made to the electorate in particular. Labor Day is fast approaching, and the workers are asking, what about the $500 minimum wage and the price control legislation you promised, Dr. Joe?
The St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party will recharge and revolutionize our local economy. We will increase the minimum wage to $500 per week and introduce price control legislation to help you keep more money in your pocket.
My Straight Talk family, Labor Day is fast approaching. Promises of job creation were very popular on the campaign trail, especially after COVID. The current economic environment is still weak, and unemployment remains a top issue. A promise to create jobs, can be both reasonable and unreasonable, I may add. And while in opposition, the prison project was a scandal and a crime. And the Prime Minister promised that somebody will be brought to court for it. That was his promise.
We understand with the CBI program, one has to be mindful that if you market a particular product, you just can't in the middle of it switch to anything else.
My Straight Talk family, he came to office, and when he saw all the money coming, he suddenly said that you cannot switch. It cannot be switched. He said $500 on pop couldn't lift anyone out of poverty. He said that to my Straight Talk family. $500 could lift you out of poverty.
This $500 and the way that they're approaching it is not lifting anybody out of poverty. So we will make sure that our people who live in poverty can be alleviated for real. These are not just words.
Not words, my Straight Talk family. But now he wants to graduate people out of poverty in 6 months. He wants to graduate our poor people out of poverty in 6 months, my Straight Talk family.
I'd like to remind the public that as we continue to work on upgrading the program, that we are transitioning the program, and part of that transition includes a condition where it is a short-term cash transfer social assistance, with the understanding that you benefit from the program for 6 months initially before you are expected to graduate off of the program if you no longer have the dire need in comparison to other persons.
$500 can't lift you out of poverty, but we'll graduate you over a period of 6 months. But thankfully, my Straight Talk family, our country has built a powerful institution called government. A government for the people, of the people, and by the people. And throughout history, many wonderful institutions have been started by men and women with noble causes, some very excellent and impressive mission statements and notable achievements. However, according to the Bible, there are only 3 institutions that have commenced under the express authority and plan of Almighty God. And these 3 God-ordained institutions are the home, the church, and the government. God established civil government shortly after Noah and his family exited the ark after the worldwide flood. The first responsibility given to civil government is found in Genesis 9, verse 6, which says, and I quote, "Whosoever sheddeth man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed." It was the establishment of capital punishment, which is a sober and heavy responsibility. It establishes a primary purpose of government as the protection for its citizens, beginning with the protection of the fundamental or foundational right to life as a gift from God. If a promise is being made by a person of integrity who has respect for his fellow human beings, then the promise made will reflect this and will be kept. Because that person would not make a promise if he or she had no intentions of keeping it. On the other hand, if it is made by someone who does not act from a place of integrity, then the chances are it will be broken. And that person in this case is just making the promise in order to have his or her own desires met, and more than likely not follow through with his or her promise. In this case, the promise would be a comfort to a fool. Jew and his cabinet have made so many promises that they have not fulfilled. And we can only conclude tonight that they all very well believe that the promise is a comfort to a fool. That's my story tonight, my Straight Dog family, and I am not going to change it. You may think as well of the other promises that they have broken and that they will never deliver. But I'll open the lines and entertain your calls and your emails. I always like to implore you, my Straight Dog family, before I do so, I'll do so in a few seconds. I always like to implore you to respect others. And of course, to achieve that, you must first respect yourselves. Let us try to be fair to all concerned. Let us try to build goodwill and better friendships. Let us ensure that the things we say and or do will be beneficial to all concerned. And in the process of saying and doing those things, let us strive to build a kinder, gentler St. Kitts and Nevis. It is just 1 minute before the 9 o'clock hour. My lines are open, and I'll go to the lines, entertain your calls and your emails, my Straight Dog family. Caller, you are live. Hello, caller.
Honorable Patches, how are you tonight?
I am peaceful, my brother. Yourself?
Oh, I'm very good.
What's on your mind tonight?
Oh, my God.
You got
Farming. We need food. We got into a recession, Patches.
Uh-huh.
No wonder if we go into a recession.
Or if you're going into a recession, well, you'll have a downturn. You know, I'm not certain if it reach the level of recession, but at least one has to prepare themselves, you know, with the supply chain issues, the oil prices rising, and other issues globally that would affect us here locally. So we have to be prepared. We hear so much about food security, you say farming, and the minister has made many promises. Has he fulfilled any?
No, we can't find the minister Samuel. He's supposed to be having a meeting tonight. I don't know if anybody can be there in the meeting, because he's not doing nothing in agriculture. He's just worrying about weed, money going in tree.
But I've seen posts from him saying he's going around and visiting farmers. Is that true?
He only visiting the farmer on this side of number 4, not coming over here in like Saddlers and and Bellevue and Keon and stuff.
Oh, okay. Going to his constituency.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, prepare yourself because you hear about cannabis tourism, you hear about marijuana on trees, so prepare yourself. I don't know how much land you have. 25 acres, 35 acres?
40.
Yeah, 40 acres. Where you can plant a lot of marijuana, man. Okay.
No, but we need food.
Okay.
What we gonna sell the marijuana to? Who gonna buy it?
Okay.
America is bigger than us, patches.
Yep.
Canada is bigger than us. They're gonna when they plant the marijuana, they could do whatever they want with it and flush it by themselves.
You're right.
But not in St. Kitts. We gotta sell it.
Okay.
To make back something. Otherwise, what gonna happen?
Okay.
But we need food. Remember, he said we can't shoot. You can't shoot the monkeys. Then he said, no, you can't chop the monkeys. Then because the monkeys are not gonna go in any trap where man will start to go on the trees.
Okay.
So how you gonna get rid of the monkeys then if you ain't shoot them?
So the
500, the 500 traps that he said he building now, the monkey's not gonna go in them patches because this is time for mango and guava and all them coming on the tree. Monkey like fresh food, they're not gonna go in the trap unless those seasons go out and they're hungry. They will go into the trap.
Okay. Makes a point.
So you gotta think about that.
Okay.
Let's say he believe 500 traps to give the farmers them, and then you look no mango on the tree. Monkey not gonna go in there. You gotta shoot them.
But there are 37,000 monkeys, I understand. How we deal with them, though?
Say that again?
I said there are 37,000 monkeys there, we are told. How do we deal with them?
Yes, that's what I mean. I say so, and they're not going to buy the trap because it is mango time.
Okay.
So if you shoot them, they're going to stay away for a while because you catch some of them, so they're going to stay away maybe about 2 weeks, 2-3 weeks. You could be able to get your food in your ground. But if you put the trap now, they're not going to go in the trap because food on the tree.
Yeah, got your point.
Yeah.
Well, let's see if the minister would take heed because no matter what they say, they listen to the program and someone.
Yes, because the PS tell me for agriculture tell me he doesn't listen to the meeting. I say to straight up. So I say okay, that's good. So I say well, if you don't listen to the thing, you need to pull up your socks.
Okay, my brother. Well, let's hope for the best and hear that if the PS is listening, take the advice coming from you.
Okay.
Have yourself a wonderful night, my brother.
Okay, doctor.
Thanks a lot, man.
Marijuana industry, as we've heard, is a multi-billion-dollar industry. And we have been dragging at a snail's pace in getting involved. And I could not understand for the life of me why. Literally growing money on trees. But yet somehow, we don't want to participate. But I dare say, that era is over. And it's now a new day. And a better way. So in 2023, expect a vibrant, thriving marijuana industry. Literally growing money on trees.
You always laugh when he says that, though. But let's go back to the lines, caller. It's 9:04. You are live on Street Talk.
Sorry. Okay. Good evening, Patches.
How are you, my dear brother, Culture? You need some cough syrup? What do you need?
If I need some cough syrup?
Yes, what you need? Rum and honey and lime?
I need some money on tree. Oh, Lord, my God. Patches, I want to say something. You see, the only material on this face of the earth that never tell a lie and will never tell a lie is the Bible. And I don't care who dispute that. Someday, they will come to their senses and realize that the Bible ain't telling a lie. But this man, what we got here called Jew, It's a lie that he make Dr. Douglas look sound like a Christian. When it comes to lies, they're going to make 500 monkey chop to catch monkey. The 500 monkey chop is the 500 minimum wage. Why you say you don't pay people? And up to now, he ain't started yet. Before he pay people higher money, he turn away people. And those who working in the ministry, a lot of those people, secretaries and whatnot, who people have to go to look job, they pick up the trick to tell people that the minister who they come to ain't here. Or the permanent secretary who's supposed to approve the people them application to give them a job. The permanent secretary them hiding and they're telling them they ain't here and all this kind of thing. For instance, the young lady who called in the other day on the radio and she speak about how I deal with them in this country here. The woman got her responsibilities in her home to look after. And up to now, I understand from the lady she ain't get a job yet. And every day she going to the office to ask them for the job because she do not want to sit down with she hand in she lap. And every week or every month she go and collect whatever money and then go back home and sit down. The woman has ambition and she need to work. She need to work and they keep shoving down the woman all the time. Why? Stop it. The country not belongs to them. The country is everybody's country. And everybody's supposed to eat. And by the sweat of your brow, man shall eat bread. She don't want to go and do nothing illegal and wrong to survive. Why they treating a woman like that? And other people take away the $500 and they promise they're going to improve, they're going to increase it, and they take it away. And they're still turning away people. Joe, Dr. Joe, stop your stupidness. Leading a country is not for you. You do not have any experience. You're not learning from who were there before you. And you're not building up any experience. You went to study medicine to save people's lives. But you're not interested in that. You don't care who dead. As long as you're in charge, Minister of Finance, that is what you want. That is not good enough. When you went in there first, you tell lies to that country in red. The team unity leave the country red and no money there to spend. When you get money to traveling every minute, you go in here and you ain't going here one. You're going in an entourage of people. I cannot old soldiers. You take back to work and young people here leave school last year, cannot get a job. People who don't earn pension from government minister and getting pension from social security. And you still take them in and giving them big money to be advisor. Well, what happened to young people? Young people got brains. A lot of young people went to university and college and up to now they can't get a work. Can't get one. What are you doing? I want to know if you sell any Japanese over passport because I like to see the Japanese them play baseball. They seldom lose a home run. I want to know if you ain't sell them no passport yet, please to sell some Japanese passport. Let them come here, come teach us how to catch fish. And we will have much fish to eat. Because things rough. People ain't got no money to buy gas for the boat to go catch fish. People ain't got no money to buy to fix the fish pot. And you play around with money. Play around with money and you say about country red. I'll come back, Patches. Let me give somebody a do.
Thank you very much for your intervention. Always quite assertive, always to the point. Never afraid to talk your truth. Good evening, Patches. Reads this email. Let's take this call and come back to that email. Caller, you're live.
Good night. You can't hear me?
Yes, my dear, you're live.
You know I can't hear you, right? I just want to thank God for spare life so far. Long time. I just can't get in. The best Prime Minister, not my God. I have to talk for the good he was doing. None could ever be like him. When I needed help, he one I see. not like the ungrateful people he has. It's an offer they get, but we will see. The boys was killing off one another. Timothy was helping them. Even was money, the crime they keep down. They had a lot to say and match it up. They match it up. Now gone joyride to talk about crime. What a shame. Who country could help who? With all those people they gone with, no plans, no ideas. They're laying out there what they're going to do, talks, and want to mash up everything that Timothy do. But all family is family. Turn away half and bring on half. Whether he's a labor or not, he is the best. I'll be back if I get in, because I have to get in. You know, I can't hear you. Okay.
Thank you very much. Sounds like Alice in Wonderland. Good evening, Patches. Reads this email. Since Labour got into power, there is more division and subtraction than addition and multiplication. The only addition and multiplication is the squandering of the public purse, the constant plane rides of ministers, etc., and now the high cost of paying overseas artists, almost 3.5 million EC, to perform at the St. Kitts Music Festival. The rising gun violence, the purchasing of high-tech gun and technology equipment, etc. The subtraction is the neglect of the JN France Hospital, the downgrade of the PAP program, the omission or pumping off of the name from the NHC housing projects, division among many die-hard Labour supporters, the fluctuating aspects of the peace program. It also seems as if it is best to resign from your jobs or hold up placards in various places like in Church Street or in front of churches will allow you to obtain big positions in St. Kitts Nevis. Wow, St. Kitts Nevis has truly gone to the dogs, and there is really more corruption going on in our little federation. Many are questioning the purchase of the embassy in the USA, but in a way it should be worthwhile instead of paying out a huge sum of money monthly or yearly. However, there are folks who are daily begging the government for a roof over their heads. As many clearly purchased the lands, many have already started, etc., and still no help. If they are doing is giving, all they're doing, beg your pardon, is giving who they want to help and blaming and making excuses of the previous administration to others. The Guy Burner boy that they are bringing for music festival and demanding so many things and what government has to come up with for him, I am certain that that amount can help 100 families in St. Kitts to get a proper home. Help the poverty alleviation program, fix the hospital, and even the water situation in our country, and still pay more artists home and abroad. It is something I, and I'm certain others as well, have come to realize, not just now, but all government love to see people bowing down to them and begging for handouts or assistance, etc. So at the end of the day, they throw it back in their face. Yes, assistance comes from our own taxpayers' money. It is time to change the change, as many are now regretting the change, all because of some silly, dirty promises. Many are saying to pray for the government. Yes, pre-prayers, deliverance, then post-prayers, and the process has to be repeated over and over until they are finally delivered, and the amount of going to church to warm the benches can't help them. Persons are wondering what happened to the deputy leader of the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party if he too resigned. Look upon trouble, reads this email. It's 15 past the 9 o'clock hour, my Straight Talk family. I'm taking your calls, I'm reading your emails, and the numbers again for you who may have joined for the first time, it's 663-6672 and or 646-829-6672. I I am still awaiting a call from my representative. I called him a few days ago. I WhatsApped him a few days ago. He promised to call back, but he has not done so. Jeffrey Hanley. Caller, you live. Hello, caller.
A promise that comes to a fool. A promise that comes to a fool, you fool element.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. That's what Straight Talk is all about, my Straight Talk family. But as I said, the lines are open. It's 869-663-6672 and or 646-829-6672. And we take this other email, my Straight Talk family. This email reads at 16 past the 9 o'clock hour. Good day, Patches. I would like to investigate what's going on with the Ministry of Social Development and Gender Affairs. The ministry is being run like a fish market by the PS. The Honorable Jeffrey Hanley seems to be only focusing on the Ministry of Education, while the junior minister is focusing on the Ministry of Youth, Aging and Disabilities. First of all, the PS is making up things as she go along regarding PAP. She's not taking any advice from the officers who are doing the groundwork. She hasn't handed over the PAP to the Director of Social Services, even though the Director has been back from maternity leave for over 3 weeks now. The PS unilaterally makes decisions regarding PAP. When it comes to medical assistance, the Director of Social Services is now required to send all files to the PS. The files are being sent back and forth while people are sick and are in need of urgent medical attention. She's meeting with staff of the Department of Social Services behind the director's back. The PS has no compassion and empathy. Anyone would wonder why she was made PS of such a ministry. She made the decision to shut down the portal for PAP registration while over 3,000 applications were still incomplete. When anyone goes to her to explain the situation, all she's saying that she can't do anything about it and registration is now closed. Now she was forced by the cabinet to look at the incomplete applications, which she should have done first. Patches 3,000 applications were incomplete, not 30, not 300, 3,000 applications. Who in their right mind will look at that and think it's fair to close registration? Patches, I would like you to know that what is going on up at that ministry. The staff is disgruntled. The PS is disrespecting and undermining the directors, and none of the ministers are paying attention, or they are turning a blind eye. She's destroying the 5 social protection programs. Please investigate before things get worse. Reads that email. Let's go back to the lines. Caller, you're live. Hello, caller.
Yes, Patrick. Yes, Patrick, I am back. Patrick, let me say something to the world. In 2009, in Miami, where I have my business and my insurance, everybody, I had surgery in Bascom Palmer Eye Institute, and it's a 7th floor building. And I had my surgery was to fix the retina in one of my eyes. And I was so anxious to come back home. When I tell the doctor that I would like to go home such and such a day, you know what he said to me? And this is a black African doctor, he's the best. His name is Dr. Jallo. He said to me, if I want to see, I would stay here in Miami and don't go up in the air in the plane. Because when you have certain medical issues, you cannot go up there in that air. just to be in the plane alone, in the cabin, will mash you up. So I tell him, it's a good thing I tell him that I wanted to go home and didn't turn off and go without his instruction. Otherwise, all I know, so, I would have been worse than Bartimaeus. And everybody know in the Bible what Bartimaeus' problem was, medically. So therefore, who don't know about people, they should not talk about them. But you see, people, the wrong things are quicker learned than right things. Now, I hear yesterday in Dr. Joe comments about crime, which he said is good. He said that we need to get to the youth them while they're in school and make sure we teach them the right thing, that they don't stray to crime. But he forget some time ago when he was overseas in one of those countries. I think it's in the Caribbean, yes. One of the leaders of a country asked him, what are you doing here? And down in the country got too much shooting and killing. And his comment was, well, that is only one mouth less to feed in prison. That is any response, good response from any leader of a country? No, he's supposed to show his compassion for saving lives on people and protecting people's lives. That them kind of foolish stupidness. And since he come back, he hasn't gone and no kind of national radio go apologize to the parents of those people who get gunned down in crime. Well, enough of that. Let me say something here now. This man, Burna Boy, I've heard a lady on a call-in talk show, and she made a lot of sense when she said this, that Burna Boy, what he is asking for, and if he would get that, he alone should take one of the night on the stage. And now, this is my thought now. With all what he's asking for, he should be able to convince everybody with a negative intention to go and kill people and thief what people got and destroy people. His performance should be able to convince people that they must not do good things and they must do what is right onward. So I don't see what about him. That he wants all these things and it look like he's gonna get them. Well, what about our local artists, them who here too? How much they does get when they go on the same stage of music festival? People, open your eyes and look at what is going on. I agree that they say he's well known over the world, but how much profit would music festival itself get? People who have guest houses and hotels and whatnot, yes, they're gonna get something, and that should turn around and help the country. But how much music festival is gonna get back as a profit from what they're putting in? Precious, I'll come back. Thank you very much for your time. So long.
Thank you very much. Thank you, my dear brother. Do not be like a horse or a mule, lest your mouth will be held with a bit and bridle. Mr. Liburd, kindly permit me to address Dr. Simmons, not in a brusquely manner, despite my serious exasperation with him. But I will not mince my words. Dr. Simmons, if you know how mad I am with you, you will pass me straight when you see me. Why did you advise Sean to disintegrate Team Unity? If Mark wanted to pull out of the union, let him do so. We would still be in government. And in spite of the accusations leveled against Harris, PAM supporters would not be struggling and suffering today under this evil and spiteful Labour government. Dr. Simmons, you mean none of you foreshadowed this was coming? None of you could have had the discernment to recognize that Mark was working as a double agent between Drew and Sean? But was more amenable to Jew and labor. I am sure you had seen the numerous pictures with Mark and Douglas in St. Paul's and in Nevis liming and chatting. What do you think they were discussing? The Bible? Hell no, Simmons. Mark had an intriguing plan to demonize and annihilate Harris by using Sean as his sacrificial victim to dethrone Harris and Pam so that Labour would win easily, putting Mark in a position to negotiate what he wants for Nevis. Mark did not want Pam to win, and it is clear for all to see now the inborn evil intentions of Mark Brantley and Hugh Simmons were a contributing factor for the dramatic loss of Pam in the elections. You were campaigning for Labour and Douglas too, for you came out and said Harris was undermining Douglas when they were together. And you were sure Douglas didn't even know. But I was so happy when Glenroy Blanchett responded to you in kind in a post, describing you as evil, lie, and wicked, and that you are no better than Harris. Shame on you, Kennedy, reads that email. I concur with Mrs. Willa Franks, reads this email, on the objective stand she has taken against marijuana combined tourism. Her erudite presentation on the call-in program denounced not only her objections, but for many of us who shared the same perspective. To carry out a post-mortem after the fact, Mr. McMahon, is ridiculous. We don't want to reach that stage. Fix it now. I hope Mrs. Franks will articulate the same message tomorrow on issues, reads this other email. No social security for poor people, reads caption this email. Patrick, can you imagine they have the heart to talk about social security reform? The fund must be depleted. They beat in the water and they will beat it from now on until forever, because everybody should be contributing and contributing on time. What about the non-compliance from a person like Garth Wilkin, big age and non-compliance? Why is he so quiet? He can never come forward and speak on any issues of Social Security. Leon Charles protected him, but want to hang poor people, taking them to the court. Shame on Garth. He needs to walk with his face in a bag. You think that we will forget him? Nanigate Garth Wilkin got to go, reads this email. I'm trying to get rid of all these emails. Bear with me, callers. Good night, Patches. When is it that Timothy Harris will decide to fall back to make room for new leadership in PLP? Nobody going to accept Timothy again as Prime Minister. He's living an illusion to think he can get back there. We cannot get rid of Drew unless people like Timothy remain at the helm of the PLP or any opposition party. Reads that email. My Straight Talk family, it's 9:29. Let's go back to the lines. Caller, you're live.
Me again, I'm back. Mr. Liburd, from the beginning of their cheating, only development bank they're talking about, like they don't know what went on 20 years ago. If they have better than what Best Timothy was doing, why can't start nothing yet? Even their own people bawling every day, say it was better under Best Timothy. And now, not saying about people's land up till now, the persevere and treasury. It's unfair to people. Are they waiting to give investors? Culture, you know, who gone away. The remedy for bad sewer. When the rest will go away, again, they have think it's like Papi Show. The arrogant, no manners is deputy. Mr. Liburd, they say you was not looking out for Newton, but they still balling now. America can't stop no crime and help them. Is there the gun making? The IMF coming soon. Mr. Liburd, I did not know St. Kitts have a big building in Washington. It was under your time? Hello?
I wasn't in Washington, my dear. I wasn't in Washington.
No, but I was asking you if the building was under your time.
I'm not familiar with Washington.
Sure about.
I'm not familiar with Washington. I was in New York.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we have some here who badly need fixing, and they must surprise us and start to do. Why they want to go joyride so fast, coming back with nothing? Don't take them on, Mr. Liburd. They cheat to get there. Have a good weekend, and they want to meet me and vex with me. It's their problem. No country could help no crime. Not country could help no crime. No country could help no crime. Start your crime here. Timothy was doing good. Go away and bring back nothing. Bring back nothing. Tourist season soon finish, and what next? Have a good weekend.
Have a good weekend as well. Sounds there like Alice in Wonderland. This email reads, let's go to the lines. I'll take that email after caller. You alive?
Hi, Patrice.
How are you, my dear?
I'm good. That email that you read, when he said take Harris must step down, he mean that if Harris step down, that means Labour gonna be in there forever and ever, amen. Who is there to take up the mantle where Harris will left? Let the person ride out for Harris, please.
Sure.
I can always talk because I'm not depending on, I'm not taking on a hands out, none hands down from no government in St. Kitts. So I can do as much as talk as I like. And next year again, they're supposed to have a VAT day this month.
Next week. Yeah.
But then, you're supposed to have a VAT day, I hear Edinburgh says so today. The advisor to the Prime Minister says so. But what happened that when you campaigned, you had promised to take 4% off of the VAT. I believe if you take the 4% off of the VAT, everybody will benefit it. Because when they have the VAT there, it's not everybody benefiting it. Because it's not everybody have money. And he really promises a comfort to a fool. Because when they was campaigning, he said that they've been getting calls from all over investors to come and invest in St. Kitts. Mm-hmm. And up to now, no investors come in. All at midnight, we get called all at midnight. So what happened now? They are ready. So people are talking about give them some time. I mean, how much time you could give them? Because they claim say they are ready. Mm-hmm. So if you get in, you're ready to show whatever you got on the table. There's nothing doing. And they go, every one of them go away. All of them went away. Jeffrey went away. He went away till I understand Canvas saw where hell him be. He was acting as Deputy Prime Minister. That's all. Can't all of them go away and come back without nothing. I was listening to him the other day and I want to know what he bring back from, he say he went to some conference about murders. And I was listening to see what he can bring back and me see him bring back nothing. I didn't hear him bring back nothing. Then they're talking about money growing and tree. You know the Bible say money is the root of all evil. Because then if I have my money tree growing, the money, the marijuana, whatever the canvas, whatever they have, and everybody go pick off the money off the tree and I don't get none. What happened? Evil going to come. So that's why the Bible says money is the root of all evil. I don't see what they're doing. And again, if Harris come out and drop out, woe be unto St. Kitts, dog better than St. Kitts. And one time I remember here Paul Southwell said that when they was running behind Paul Southwell was saying that they believe ruling a country is like a piece of land you over, and that is how you doing it. He think like ruling a country is like a piece of land he over. But Paul Southwell says more to it than that. And they running up and down because as far as I see, they running up and down and trying to see how many places they can travel because they don't sure if they're going to get back in another term. So anyway, you take care.
Thanks a lot for your contribution as usual. Patches, you are always talking about respect others, but you constantly let the guy from New York disrespect Dr. Drew by calling him that boy from Monkey Hill, and you never stop him, and that makes you a hypocrite, Patches. That's the views of that emailer. Is he a boy or a man? That's the question we ask. Good night, Patches. The video circulating from Big Lie's advisor in diaspora affairs says that a birdie tell him of the infighting in the labor camp. I am yet to hear who the birdie is, reads this other email. At 24 before 10 o'clock, I'm going to get these emails out. They're piling up on me. Why is PM Joe wasting the media time? I hear the big announcement of special interview. Was eager to listen and nothing new. Yes, it's a disappointment. You wonder. I mean, you tend to be sorry for the man. It's 23 before the 10 o'clock hour, my Straight Dog family. You may have just joined me. And tonight, our caption, our thesis is captioned, I should say, a promise is a comfort to a fool. And for those who may have just joined me, when as politicians we take upon ourselves a promise, then we ought to be bound by it. And my actions have spoken louder than my words. Unfortunately, when you examine promises made by different leaders, especially around election time, and how they're used to comfort fools, no doubt. This, however, should not discourage the rest of us at all. In our country, with a high literacy rate of 98%, I think nonetheless that the word fool is a bit harsh, but a promise is certainly an illusionary. It is meant to deceive by producing a false comfort or misleading impression of reality that target in particular those who are vulnerable and have no control over their lives and no power to change things. They target, it seems, the disempowered persons amongst us that need others to promise things to those who, strange but true, are in the majority. These politicians have no good intentions, and more likely than not, they make promises because they know they can get away with them. They get into office and make promises of investment, yet to be realized. But quite interesting though, I do not believe, at least in St. Kitts and Nevis, that anyone is exposed to liability for making a promise. If so, then it has to be exceptional or in certain specific circumstances. Thus, I do not believe that one can sue a politician, for example, for breaking a promise. But that does not mean they are not held accountable. The way we hold politicians accountable is through the ballot, through voting. Because politicians will make promises like this one and will never deliver them.
Forced vaccination. People lose their jobs. Can't get compensation. Taxi drivers for 20 months can't get a work. 3 months only. He gave them a little subsistence for. Labor will pay you for the rest 17 months that he did not pay you. That is what we will do.
And when we speak to accountability, it does not come through the courts, as I said. It will come through the ballot box. And my Stray Dog family, some people understand that. Weed drops, let it stop. As Big Banana, my friend, would say this.
The promise that Denzel made on the stage for 17 months. I don't know if it was a back pay or something to help taxi drivers because of the stress season. Now I went to a meeting at the Marriott. Honorable Marshall Edison, and she told me cabinet, since last year, cabinet is working on something for taxi drivers. But there's a kind of thing that they see, maybe people see boats coming in, so they want to put the issue under the rug. But there is a time that's going to come for 6 months, starting from the end of April, where it's going to be very slow. Politicians are taking people on a promise and not executing the promise. You don't need time to execute it, but at the end of the day, it's those people that make the sacrifice to go and vote. It's who have been in office, and you need to respect that. If you cannot respect that, at the same time, you'll be taking people for fool all the time, and it's not going to happen like that because they're making people promises, and at the end of the day, when they come back to ask those people to do or promise them again, to give them another chance, it's not going to be that.
This email reads, my Stray Dog family. And as I said before, the taxi drivers, the taxi operators are no fools and must not be taken for fools. You must respect them. As I always say, they are our ambassadors. Patches, I'm very disappointed with our reporters. Read this email. Every time the Prime Minister has a press conference and they ask him questions, they seem to be satisfied with the lies and dishonest answers he gives them. None of them wouldn't even ask any follow-up question. They are like little scared kittens in the room. These reporters know the hardship of the poor and needy in this country. When they get in front of the Prime Minister, they need to remind him of the promises they made to the poor people of this country, like the increase in the minimum wage and the PAP to $1,500. People are suffering and can hardly get food to eat. They need assistance with the PAP to help them survive this high cost of living. Reads this other email. It's 9:43, my Stray Dog family, as we are on the upper side of 10 o'clock. You may have just joined me for the first time, just to let you know that Straight Talk is heard every Monday and Thursday from 8 in the p.m., 8 to 10 in the p.m. We entertain your calls. We include your calls. We include your emails. And this email reads, Patches on Marsha, Denzel, Maynard, and others. Buy 3 ferries and operate ferry daily service from St. Kitts, Stacia, and Sable. Bigger ferry than Mac. Come and take bread out of your mouth. What is wrong with you guys? Are you guys sleeping? Wake up and open your eyes and do St. Kitts a favor. Put your only on the boat. Don't understand this. Let Kakana run from St. Martin, okay. But St. Kitts ferry start running. Why aren't we turn out pilot and captain and St. Kitts turn out farmers? Heads, but your own ferry boat, St. Kitts. Time to give St. Kitts people good, decent paying jobs. Fix the new dock across from St. Kitts Marine Works for the ferries, Bastia, and let the passengers take taxi or gypsy to Bastia if they want to go to Bastia. Fix a new market for that St. Kitts Marine Works dock. Reads this email. A little bit complicated, but let's go back to the lines. Caller, you alive? Hello, caller.
Hey, Patches, look at me. Patches, the prison over here is going full speed ahead. Full speed ahead. I thought this was somebody gonna get locked up.
Well,
full speed ahead. I think, and they buy the block from Ham. Look at that. Full speed ahead, about a 30 Chinese man walking over there right now.
Okay. Very interesting. Well, he's signed a lot of the passports, eh? Or not the passports, the certificates of registration. So, and it doesn't tell us how many passports have been issued, you know. But you're right, you know.
Why? And you cannot ask Michael Martin because he don't know what's going on. He's saying you must go and ask Michael Martin, but he's the one who's signing them, so we want to know from him.
Of course. Of course, he's
going round and round the bush. Come on with the truth. I promise it's a comfort to a fool. Tell us the truth.
And he gets that information monthly, on a monthly basis from Canadian banknote. Not Martin. Martin won't get that. The CIA won't get that. The passports are issued by National Security, which he's the minister, not Martin.
Yes.
You know what is?
But he's telling the person to go and ask Martin. No, you gotta ask him.
And he gets away. He gets away with these lies, you know, and you know he's. I mean, and he says that he lies with so much authority that you want to believe him if you don't listen to him quite clearly, you know.
I don't know if you want to take over your title now, Liburd. Maybe Marcel give him hug.
Well, he probably take it over with an E. I was
Oh my
LIB,
God.
you know, but.
Well, practice the man need to go. He really do outside goal, man. Outside goal. And everything he do with a smile, he just smiles a lot. What happened?
Yeah.
He never serious yet. Just smiling.
He knows he's fooling us, you know. Or he believes he's fooling us. Believes he's fooling us. Just believes he's fooling the people of the country. And
Smiling. Come on.
Sad. That is so sad, you know.
Tell us how much passport you signed. This is 8 months you're in there for now.
Yes. Well,
And Edinburgh come and say that the peace program ain't good today. He just come up from Cuba. He didn't say okay, well, he got on a radio and say, oh, the peace program wasn't good because they find money. They get the money from the peace to buy new guns.
Oh, interesting.
But you know, Patrick, a hungry man is an angry man, you know. So if you ain't helping me to eat, I'm gonna do something crazy.
Yep. Well, let's see what
so
happens.
You gotta look at that.
Hope for the best, you know. And we have to stand up, though. We have to stand up and say it like it is, and you stand firm, you know. Stand firm, you know. Do not vanish the truth. Tell it like it is, you know. And that's.
So where's Jeffrey? He ain't come back as yet?
I'm not certain at all. As I said, I sent him a WhatsApp. He did respond to me, and he promised to call, but he hasn't called me, my representative. But I'm sure he'll call sometime. I look forward to that, Jeffrey. You listen at times too, or somebody can tell you that your call is still outstanding. So, yeah. But thanks a lot, my dear brother, for your intervention.
Okay, Patrick.
And be good with yourself. Be good to yourself. Okay. Thank you. 11 minutes before the 10 o'clock hour. Timothy was accused of having a security firm at JDF, which was dismantled by Jew labor. But I now understand a Pemberton fellow from Birdrock is now the manager of it. This needs a wow. Right, that email. Let's go back to the lines. Caller, you're live.
Patrick, I'm here.
So.
Yes, Patrick.
Yes, you're live.
A promise is really a gift to a fool. But I can tell you something. Dr. Joe. Oh, Lord. Sorry about that, Patrick, boy. Cartridge. You remember Cartridge say, cow jump over moon? And when we were small going school, we had believe it. So if anybody could beat Cartridge with a lie is Dr. Joe. When I was small going school, a man used to tell me, I think I was around 7 to 8 years, I must go pick cane stark meat for eat cattle every afternoon when I come from school. And he gonna give me a sheep egg for me Christmas. Well, I was excited for the sheep egg. I wanted to see what it look like. And one day, the wife tell him, man, why you don't stop fooling the child? Sheep don't lay an egg. Everybody know a sheep drop out on the ground. So that is what he was going to give me for my Christmas. So that was my promise. So therefore, a promise is really a gift to a fool. But any word that is used in the Bible cannot be too harsh. The Bible says, the fool has set in his heart that there is no God. So fool is not a harsh word. So once the Bible says, it is legal. Now you know the reason why Dr. Joe ignored the hospital, those things that the hospital needed, and they do not have them, and everybody up there mumbling and grumbling because things supposed to be better with the promise that he made, because he have it in mind to go build his smart hospital. So that's why he neglecting Joseph and France Hospital and the machines that needed to be in operation. Think about it. He got his mindset on his smart hospital, so he ignoring this one. Well, anyway, Patty's time short. And I want other people to call in and stop be coward. Stop afraid. A lot of you go church. And if I go to church, are you supposed to believe in God? Have faith in God. Man shut one door and God open four more. Stop being coward, people. Speak up. Let all your conscience be all your guide. Thank you. And now, if Dr. Harris is supposed to step down as leader, why are those big international countries in the COVID time, why they ask him how he get the dough in sync it with the COVID and keep people eating food? Eh? Come on, people, man. I must be fair. Give Jackie jacket. What is Paul? Give it to Paul. What is belongs to Caesar? Give it to Caesar. That is good night. I'll see you when you come by me. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Have a good night, my dear brother. You know, if a lie is told enough times, people will assume it's true. And perhaps that's the strategy that Joe is using. It's not a stretch to understand why people would believe something if they hear it enough times. People expect that lies will be disproved and fade away. So if the lies continue to be heard, people will assume that they are true. And I think that is a strategy that Prime Minister Joe seemed to be applying, but we must not allow him to succeed with that strategy, because the truth is what will set us free. And only the truth can set us free, my Straight Dog family. So I'll wind down tonight's program in my Straight Dog family. And for those of you who may have joined me late in particular, tonight we discuss the caption, "A promise is a comfort to a fool." And we looked at the promises made by the incumbent to create jobs, yet those promises cannot be fulfilled. As I said, Labor Day is approaching. They promise a $500 minimum wage, and price control legislation, those promises, or that promise, still is outstanding. He promised to increase the PAP. Instead, he wants to get people off the PAP. And that promise, again, is still outstanding. My Sherlock family, he promised as well that he would diversify the economy and diversify tourism. And many people are wondering and pondering if this is the way they want to go.
International celebration on the 20th of the 4th month, that's this month, the 20th of April, where we celebrate cannabis internationally, not just locally. And this year we're proposing that the festival be 420 friendly. We are currently working with the legal team and security forces to discuss this plan, and more information, of course, will be provided to you over the next few weeks. But as we talk on diversifying our offerings and products, those of you who have been following us would see that we want to venture into cannabis tourism, and this is one of the pilot projects that we would venture into as we continue our efforts to diversify our offerings as a destination.
Cannabis tourism. But as we wind down tonight's program in my Straight Talk family, I conclude that a successful democracy is built on trust. Candidates and governments make many promises before and during their time in office, and prime ministers are certainly no exception. Prime Minister Drew, for example, who has been in office for over 8 months now, has evidentially gone back on several promises he made to the electorate in particular. I just mentioned the $500 minimum wage and the price control legislation. Promises of job creation, especially after COVID. The current economic environment is still weak, and unemployment remains a top issue. While in opposition, it was a scandal and crime, and he promised that somebody would be brought to court for the prison project. He came to office, and when he saw all this money coming, he suddenly changed his narrative and said the project cannot be switched. He said $500 on the PAP couldn't lift anyone out of poverty. But yet, he wants to graduate people out of poverty and off the PAP. My Straight Talk family, our country has built a powerful institution called government. Let's make sure it is a government for the people, of the people, and by the people. Throughout history, many wonderful institutions have been started by men and women with noble causes, impressive mission statements, and notable achievements. My Straight Talk family, if a promise is being made by a person of integrity who has respect for his fellow men or fellow human beings, then the promise made will reflect this and will be kept, because that person, the said person, would not make a promise if he or she had the intention of keeping it. On the other hand, if it is made by someone who does not act from a place of integrity, then the chances are it will be broken. And the said person in this case is just making the promise in order to make, or in order to have his or her own desires met. And people will more than likely not follow through with his or her promise. In this case, the promise would be a comfort to a fool. Jew and his cabinet have made so many promises that they have not fulfilled and will not fulfill. And we can only conclude that they are all very well believe that the promise is a comfort to a fool. That's my story tonight, my Straight Talk family. I'm not going to change it. But my time is done and I've got to run. I want to thank Almighty God for guiding our conversation tonight. And as always, I got to thank you, our listeners. Thank you all who called. Thank you, the emailers. Thank you, my social media massive, YouTube and Facebook posse. My Straight Talk family, without you, there's no Straight Talk. Until we connect on Monday for another edition of Straight Talk, have yourselves a wonderful weekend. I go to church on the weekend. What do you do? Let's find something to do constructive. Praising the Lord is one constructive thing to do. But remember, whatever your mind conceive, that you will achieve. But first of all, you must believe. So when you wake in the morning, thank God for the morning light. Thank Him for taking you through the night. And my Straight Talk family, keep moving on. Bye-bye. Until we connect on Monday.
In the morning, I thank God for the morning light. Give Him thanks and praises for taking me safely through the night. For the rest of food and loving care, and for my mother's breath of life that's got me here. So whatever my mind conceives that I will achieve, you better believe, because I do the things I should, be to my brethren kind and good, the best I could. So I'll keep moving on, I won't stop now. I'll keep moving on till I reach the top somehow. Down on my knees to the Lord I kneel and pray, with my heart and soul, beg Him to take me through each day. My guardian to keep